Thanks.
Thank
Thanks for having
you.
me.
So again, welcome. Ben's joining us from Colorado. So thank you for coming out. And I understand you had the weekend at Wine Country.
I did.
So any recommendations for wine?
This wine isn't nearly as good as what I had this weekend. Iron Horse, that's our
Iron
favorite if you
Horse.
like bubbles. So
Okay,
yeah, it was
there
a
we go.
lovely time. So
Yeah.
so thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you for coming. So first of all, introduction. Introduce yourself and Ent Credit Union.
Yeah. Ent Credit Union is one of the country's larger credit unions. We're the largest credit union in the state of Colorado. We have about 500,000 members and just under 60 locations along the Front Range. We've been around about 70 years. My role there is I'm the director of digital marketing. So all of our unauthenticated, they don't let me near the online banking. I don't want to be near people's money, but all of the unauthenticated experiences, our digital signage and our service centers, marketing automation, our website, ad syndication, that sort of thing. So that's the role that I play there.
Nice, yeah. I think there's a lot of digital marketers in the audience that I've met across multiple industries. I've met people from retail, e-commerce, media and publishing, finance, of course, and healthcare as well. So, of course, you're in the finance industry. So as a marketing leader in the finance industry, kind of what's top of mind for you? What are some of the challenges you're seeing?
Yeah, so I'm sure when you think of a credit union, the first thing that comes to mind is like bleeding edge tech stack, right? That's what everyone thinks of. When I joined Ent a few years ago, we were this bizarre mix of, we did have some advanced elements of our tech stack, and then we had some really antiquated legacy systems.
Yeah.
And so that was a challenge. We had very distributed data across systems that wasn't communicating with each other. We couldn't benefit from the knowledge. But one of the things that we are challenged with is with the onset of fintech, the expectation is that we should be able to compete with these frictionless, elegant digital experiences. And so we're playing a lot of catch up. One of the things that we're primarily focused on, not necessarily unique to credit unions. Credit unions, typically their value proposition as a not-for-profit is really about improving the financial quality of life of their members versus maximizing profit from an individual banker. And so as a result of that, we are focused on these like highly personable, trusted advisor experiences. So translating that into a digital experience, we're never going to be able to replicate exactly that experience. So we've got to figure out unique ways to carry that experience into our digital experiences that feels very personalized, very human, very advisory, and not very salesy. So that's kind of the journey we're on. That coupled with what we've heard a lot about today, which is really the move away from third-party data, augmented data with purchasing data from other folks, as well as the traditional third-party data from the big boys, Facebook and all of those folks. So moving to first-party data has been another big challenge that we're facing.
Yeah, and I really like how you said matching that digital experience with the in-person experience, because I know no matter what industry that we're in, we're all trying to do that. How do we personalize even with the digital experience? So that's great, and obviously CDP is one of the key reasons we choose that. So why did you decide to adopt a CDP?
Yeah, as I said, when I started, we had a very antiquated email marketing system, on-prem, everything was very buttoned up, very limited ability to, like we literally would, anytime we'd want to target a segment, we would have to go to enterprise analytics and beg for a list and give them the criteria, and they, and we'd sit patiently, wait for it to show up, and and then use it. And it just wasn't very effective. It wasn't very efficient. We couldn't do any sort of behavioral triggers, really. And so we absolutely saw the need to marry both our banking data with our traditional data that we had as marketers, right? We had the normal aggregated data about journeys through GA and Datadog and those sorts of things. But we, unlike a commodity business, right? So it's not just about the purchases, it's about how are you banking with us every day, right? So what product mix do you have? Do you have a HELOC? Okay, great, you have a HELOC. Are you using it? What is the monthly balance you're carrying on your savings? And what's the interest rate on that savings account? And if our mission is really to improve your financial quality of life, could we put a product in front of you that would actually increase your interest rate on your savings so you can save more? Well, that's going to create customer loyalty. It's going to help us fulfill our mission. So we were looking for a place where we could unify the data from all of our systems into, we're new on the journey. We're only 7 months in. We've done a lot of work, but we have a long way to go still, but it's been great.
That's great. So it really sounds like data is at the heart of your marketing strategy. And how do you go about data collection? So getting the right data.
Yeah, I think Todd was getting really tired of me. We took a long time implementing because we really wanted to make sure that we were mapping the data in the most scalable way, right? And so we took a lot of time to do that, and but we were able to map in 200 data points for every one of our 500,000 members on their profile. So we have a ton of information. So, and it's not only informing how do we position products to them, it's also informing things like what products do we need to develop. So we're able to look at things like you're swiping your credit card every day. Well, what kinds of things are you swiping your credit card for? Would we be able to position a credit card that had rewards related to groceries because that's your primary use of this card? So could we do that? Could we build a product? So it's been a lot of fun, and the having all of that data in one place, it's like a new sandbox to play in for the first time.
Yeah. I like that it's been a lot of fun. I like your
It was a journey, but it was, it's paid off.
It was a journey, but yeah. So yeah, staying on data. So really understanding the right target audience. So you have the data collection. So now really understanding the right target audience. How do you do that?
Yeah, we've gained a lot of efficiency there. As I said, our system, as highly regulated industry. Anytime we wanted to identify an audience, we'd have to go to our compliance folks and say, this is who we want to talk to. Are we good? And they would say yes. And then we would go to enterprise analytics and get a list. And I mean, it took weeks. And sometimes we'd get that list back and we're like, cool, it's too small. So let's start over, right?
Yeah.
Being able to find the right audience. Now our product marketing team can come over and sit with Stephanie on the team and they can dream. They can say, what if, what if we wanted to talk to these people? Well, let's see who's in that audience. And what if we took out this one criteria? It's just instant. So that's been seismic. We've been able to do a few fun campaigns. Last year, CDs, there's been a lot of shift in the financial sector as the economy has changed recently. So we had to position certificates of deposit as a real thing again. It used to be like your grandma's CD, right?
Yeah.
And now they're actually viable savings products. And so we've had a ton of people that open CDs, and now we're looking at things like, well, those CDs are going to mature in the next 6 months. So how do we retain those customers, and how do we, if we do nothing, right, they're just going to roll over, and they might have a sort of dissatisfied experience. But now, with the data that we have in the CDP, we can look at what is our current product offerings, what interest rate are they at on their, what's their AYP on their current CD, APY on their current CD, figure out what we have, get in front of them with enough time to give them options, and then they actually feel like we're advising them as opposed to selling them. Because then we know, hey, you have this, you've matured here, you're gonna roll over at this date. There are 3 options of what things that we think would be a good recommendation for you to do with that money, and they'll keep it in-house. So we've seen about a 250% increase in engagement with those emails because they're more advisory than sales.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
So, which really takes you through, you've just really taken us through that journey. It's unifying the data, and then you gave examples of how and then picking the right target audience, and then you gave us examples of how you activate that data and, with the campaigns, for sure. So, great ROI stats. What about efficiency? I know a lot of us, are doing more with less, as we say, which marketers hate to hear that. But what about efficiencies? What are you doing on efficiencies?
Yeah, the biggest efficiency we projected when we were internally selling the need for Blue Shift was really this efficiency around segmentation. And it's been incredible. I mean, like I said, it would take us a couple weeks typically. It would take about 25 hours of work time, but usually about 2 calendar weeks to identify an audience and get an approved audience back from EA. Now, we do it in minutes. So it still has to go through compliance, but we dial it in and get it exactly the way we want it and then pass it through compliance, and they're great. So that's been the hugest increase in efficiency. The other thing, we had a lot of reinventing the wheel for every campaign. So we're not Sweetwater that has like a bazillion products, right? We, thanks to the Medicis, a couple hundred years ago, there's about like 20 banking products. That's about it. You know what I mean? Like they've invented them all, and we're just using those 20 products over and over again, right? Well, we used to, anytime we'd want to run a campaign, there was so much replication of building a new email journey. Now we're able to just turn that campaign off, let it sit dormant for a while. If we're ready to reactivate it, we go and revisit and we see what were the learnings from the last time we were running that campaign, decide what are the things that we'd like to test and see if we can improve, and then reactivate it. So that's been a huge time saver, and we're expecting a lot more of that just because we've only been doing it for 7 months. So we're still running some of our first campaigns for some of our products.
Yeah, you all have done so much in those 7 months, So I want to ask you a question around cross-channel. So a lot of us, obviously, we're meeting customers where they are. There's new channels, new opportunities coming up. How do you approach cross-channel marketing?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the primary channel we use Blue Shift for is email, like probably most folks. We've seen, comparing our current system to the legacy system that we had previously, we've seen really significant improvements there. We've seen about a 32% increase in our engagement rates. So just getting more eyeballs on the website increases the odds of more conversions, right? And we have seen significantly more conversions. The number I hesitate to even say, some of this is driven by our previous system had some limited email attribution, and a lot of the improvement we have seen initially on our email conversion rate is driven by being able to pivot the tone and posture of the emails to be more advisory, consultative than sales. But we've seen a 1,200% increase in conversions attributed to email. So that makes it really easy when I go up to the fifth floor and talk about the ROI of Blue Shift. So other channels that we're using, we recently just implemented live content on our website, and we have a roadmap for about 15 placements of live personalized content on the website. Last week, we activated programmatic print. Previously, when we would identify an audience, we would ship if there's a print component to the campaign, everyone in the audience pool gets the print piece. Well, it's time-consuming to build those. It's expensive to ship them. The cost to print them. Now we're able to just trigger those, just literally put it as a waypoint in the journey, and ship it to them on demand based upon they visited the website twice. And so now we know that it's a pretty hot lead, and let's make our print mail additive, which we expect will result in more effective print mail usage and less cost. So overall, that's a win-win. Other things that we've implemented were we have a couple different domains that we don't own, where our application processes happen. And so creating events so that we can scrape those events for abandoned cart sequences. That's new this year. And then we've got an extensive roadmap related to AI, things that we're looking to implement this calendar year, as well as I'm getting some pressure from the rest of the marketing team to start doing syndications and doing some ad placement. So we're looking forward to that. We're hoping to be able to fit that in this year.
Great. Awesome. What a great story. And then I love your examples. So maybe one more example, kind of bringing it all together, a favorite campaign where you generated a lot of engagement.
Yeah, so typically we do a couple of checking campaigns, so checking account campaigns. We do one in the fall, and early fall, and then we do one at the end of the year. And this was our first time this was actually our first primary campaign that we ran in Blue Shift. We had run it the previous year, so we were able to look at kind of what we had done the previous year. And again, we were able to make some of those pivots to dial in the audience, to personalize. We used AI to personalize some of the content, subject line, and other things.
That's great.
And we saw, in the fall campaign, we saw a 259% improvement on conversion from that email, that email campaign. It was primarily email. We turned that off, paused it, came back to it for the end of the year campaign. And so it was the same exact campaign that we had run. We had taken a few of the things that we had learned, and we got another 47% increase on top of the 259 for the end of the year campaign. And so that incrementality of being able to just slightly modify, A/B test a few things. There were a few things that we A/B tested along the way. So there's a promo associated with that campaign, and so we tested, position of the promo in the email. How prominent is it in the messaging? Some of those things didn't work as well. Shocking. But we were able to learn those things and actually point to the data to make those improvements. So that was really great. The other one that we have had huge improvement in is our onboarding sequences. So previously we had a very generic onboarding sequence, and obviously with the financial institution, there's things you've got to do, right? So you open your account, but you've got to go in and set up your online banking access. Hopefully you're doing your direct deposits. You may have to move card, automatic billing from things over. Previously, we just had a sequence of things that were just like, I don't know, do this, do this, do this. We had no visibility to, had they already done those things? Well, that's just a really crappy experience. Hey, go set up online banking. You're like, cool, I already did that. Like, you don't know me at all. So by being able to look at that digital body language and that behavior our members have already demonstrated, we've been able to personalize that journey and have had much, much more engagement and success in actually getting people to take the needed steps, but to take them sooner.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you've done a lot in the 7 months. Great numbers. Looking ahead to the rest of 2024, what are you most excited about on your roadmap? What are you thinking of?
Yeah, gosh, we've got a few exciting things coming up. So we have quite a bit planned for AI. So we're looking at implementing, so we have our BA group has a churn model. So we're looking at bringing that churn data in and doing some retention campaigns, but we're also looking at comparing that churn model with Blue Shift's AI churn model and see which one is actually performing better. That was a big deciding factor for us in picking Blue Shift because a lot of our data folks are skeptical, but they want to build the model. They want to know what's in the black box, and so being able to tell them like, hey, we can run both of these at the same time and see what we can learn was really intriguing to them. So we're looking to implement the churn model. We're going to be implementing personalized onboarding across all of our product mix. So depending on, obviously activating your HELOC is a little bit different than drawing down on your personal loan. So we'll be implementing that. Again, the content personalization across the website is going to be massive. We're also looking to drive, we have a new tech stack happening on the online banking side. So being able to drive both financial education content as well as product offerings, next best offer into our online banking experience, and being able to push that in there is on the roadmap for this year. So we're going to be busy. I hope we can get there.
Yeah, busy 2024. I mean, it sounds like Ent Credit Union is headed for more success in 2024. So
I hope so.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us. This has been really helpful. And, speaking of AI, we have Manyam up next. But thank you, Ben.
Thanks so much.
Give a warm welcome. Yep.